Play.com members. I'm one of your newer teachers. My name is Mark Brennan. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate from Cleveland State University, class of 1980. I was a music major, of course, and I majored in classical guitar performance. And at that point, I started teaching private lessons in 1980. So I've been teaching for about 28 years now. Private lessons in different studios in Cleveland. And now I teach privately out of my home in Fairview Park, Ohio. And now I'm proud to say that I'm on the fine faculty of jamplay.com. Lots of great teachers, lots of different things going on with different styles, different perspectives from different teachers, and real proud to be part of it. So what we're going to do today is we will start my basic beginner electric guitar series. Now we're going to start right from the beginning. We're going to assume that you're a brand new guitarist. You somehow got the bug, you wanted to learn how to play guitar. That could be from anything from being inspired by some great players, or you just want to be able to express yourself with the guitar. Just do it for fun, something to relax, or even make a career out of it. It's a great instrument to be playing. The great thing about a guitar is it can be a solo instrument, it can be a rhythm instrument. You can accompany soloists, you can accompany vocalists, you can accompany yourself, and you can be in a band. You can play solo gigs. It's a great instrument to be playing, and you can be creative with it. You can write music on it, and that's something I really encourage all my students to do, is to think about the creative aspect of being a guitarist right off the bat. It's an instrument to express yourself with, and to learn how to jam like with your favorite guitar players and get in a band, and it's a lot of fun. You'll have a lot of fun. So we're going to get started right at the beginning. Just try to give you an overview of the whole series, the whole basic beginner electric series that I'll be doing. We'll start with the basic parts of the guitar. We'll go over the basic parts of the guitar, and then the next job will be being able to tune the guitar. I'm going to show you how to use a tuner, and then we'll look at a guitar amp, a basic small guitar amp that you probably have, and then beyond that we'll start getting in. We'll get our hands on the guitar. We'll work with the right hand. We'll work with the left hand, and then we'll start learning notes. We'll learn the C major scale. We'll get into simple chords, then we'll get into more complex chords. We'll learn all the basic chords at the bottom of the neck that every guitar player needs to know. And then we'll learn strumming, along with single note playing too. And then beyond that, I think we'll get into a little bit of rock and roll. We'll do some basic power chord stuff. We'll work on movable power chords, 2 and 3 note power chords, the right hand techniques that are involved with them, and then we'll get into minor pentatonic scales, and we'll learn about 12-bar blues, and hopefully we'll learn a couple different positions of the minor pentatonic scale, and we'll talk about improvisation. Okay, so beyond that puts you well beyond being a beginner if you get all that mastered. We'll along with the chord strumming and the rock and roll stuff, we'll learn some simple songs along the way, and hopefully you'll have a lot of fun with it. So without any further ado, let's get started. We'll talk about the parts of the guitar next. Thanks. All right, welcome back. jamplay.com. I'm Mark Brennan. Okay, let's get started. We're going to talk about the basic parts of a Stratocaster style guitar. My guitar is a Tom Anderson Classic. It's modeled after a Stratocaster, so it has all the same components. Let's go up to the top. This is the headstock, this whole piece of the guitar up here. And it has a very important component on it, the tuning machines. Want to make sure your guitar, even if it's an entry-level guitar, has decent machines on it. Keeps the tuning stable. There shouldn't be any play in the gears. It should have a real smooth feel to it. These have Grovers. Grovers are real good. Schallers are good. Spurzels. I see that most entry-level guitars now have pretty decent machines on it, so we'll just assume and hopefully you got really decent machines on your guitar to keep it in tune for you. Now with a Stratocaster style guitar, they're all on the same side of the headstock, so they all perform the same way. If you want to bring the pitch of the string up when you're tuning, you turn the machine counterclockwise. If you want to lower the pitch when tuning, you turn it clockwise. Again, they all perform that same way. Let's get this back in tune. It's my low E string. Okay, so we have the tuning machines on the headstock. Now let's go to the neck. The neck of the guitar has the fretboard on it. With my guitar, I have a rosewood fretboard. It's real attractive looking brown wood with grain in it. And then on the fretboard, we have the frets. Now, when I talk about the frets, I'm usually referring to the spaces between the fret wires. Okay, so the first fret is really this space right in here. And we can call this the first fret also, but you know, just understand that the fret wire and the actual fret itself is a different entity. Okay, so we have the frets and the fret wires, and then every guitar has fret position markers unless you have a classical guitar. And these are just, think of them as guideposts up the neck for different positions. When you start playing up the neck more, you'll use these fret position markers as guideposts. And somewhere along the line, you'll learn the notes on the bottom E string that correspond with these fret markers. 12th fret is the double dotted fret. Now this is what we call the active fret. All the open strings go to the active. They're all the same notes as the open strings. And then the notes of the fretboard repeat at the octave above the 12th fret. So as you learn the neck, you'll discover that once you learn the neck up to the 12th fret, you in essence know the whole fretboard because everything repeats at the octave. And the fret markers correspond accordingly. Like the 3rd fret, say at the 3rd fret we have G, the 3rd fret marker. Then at 15, where we have a fret marker, is G an octave higher. Then 5 will correspond with 17 and so forth. 7 will correspond with 19. And everything's an octave higher up here. Okay? Now, Stratocasters have a bolt-on neck. That's what it looks. It's just bolted right onto the body of the guitar. And then we get to the body. Now, there's a lot going on here with all the electronics, as you can see. We have 3 single coil pickups. These basically are transducers that transfer the vibrations of the string into electronic impulses, and that's sent to a guitar amplifier. That's basically how an electric guitar works with the pickups. These are single coil pickups. Most Stratocasters have single coils. And they're controlled with a pickup selector switch. You can get different combinations of pickups here. 5-position pickup selector switch. Just about every Stratocaster has the 5-position, unless you have an older style Stratocaster. Some of them are 3-position. But with the 5-position pickup switch, you can select the bridge pickup in this position. The middle position, you select the middle pickup, and this position here will select the fretboard pickup. Now there's 2 in-between positions here. This position gives you the fretboard and the middle pickup, and then this one here will give you the middle pickup and the bridge pickup. And what you do is you get different tones from the different combinations. You can just experiment with your guitar on just even a single note. You can hear how the tone is different. and you tend to get brighter as you go closer to the bridge. And that's your brightest right there. So this is your warmest. These usually work good with chords. And then when you're playing single note stuff or you want a real bright tone, you use the bridge pickup, and that gives you your brightest tone. So experiment with the pickup selector switch and discover the different tones you get with the different pickups. Okay, now with my guitar, as with your guitar, you're going to have one single volume control. Just basically all the way counterclockwise, you're completely off, and then it should have a nice gradual increase in volume. When it's full up, you have the full output of the guitar. Now I have a single tone control, and this rolls off some of the high end on the tone. So you can hear that it makes it sound warmer as you roll it counterclockwise. And then the brightest sound you'll get from a particular pickup will be fully clockwise. Now on regular Stratocasters, you have two tone controls. Your guitar probably has two. And these two tone controls are for your fretboard pickup and your middle pickup. But you shouldn't have a tone control for your bridge pickup. The nice thing about my Tom Anderson is it has a tone control for all three pickups. Now this switch you probably don't have on your guitar. I'll just briefly state that it's a coil tap switch because I have double stacked coils in each one of these positions. They're basically stacked humbuckers. Won't get into a big explanation about that, but that gives me further different combinations of tones I can get with it. Okay, so that's the base of the electronics. Your guitar is also going to have an output jack where you plug the cable into, obviously. And this outputs the signal from the guitar to the amplifier. Okay, then we have the all-important bridge. Okay, now most Stratocasters have what we call a floating tailpiece. Okay, think of the whole piece as the bridge of the guitar. There's different components to this. I have a whammy, and you probably know what a whammy does. It alters the pitch. I can lower the pitch by pressing down on the bar, and I can raise the pitch by going up on the bar. Okay, so I get a lot of different types of vibrato effects. I like to use real subtle effects on chords. I can vibrato harmonics. It's real subtle. And you can do dive bombs. And the fact that I have locking machines, which we'll get into at a different time, but the locking machines help keep the tuning stable for the use of my vibrato. Okay, and then you have individual bridge saddles. This helps to get the intonation or the individual pitch of the string in tune. That's for a different lesson, how we set that up. But most electric guitars will have 6 individual bridge saddles for each string. Okay, and then briefly, most Stratocasters with floating tailpieces have all this stuff in the back of the guitar. This is basically the counter springs. It's like a big teeter-totter, where you have counter springs that counteract the action of the vibrato, and it needs to be set up properly for it to work properly. We won't get into that right now, but you'll notice that your Stratocaster has the block back here with the springs in here. And then lastly, we have the strap pegs. Okay, now my Tom Anderson has 2. I can put it in 2 different positions. I can sling it a little lower or bring it up higher. And then there's one in front here too. By the way, I have strap locks. You might have heard of strap locks. Very useful device to save your guitar from any accidental slippage of the strap off the strap peg. You bust the neck of your guitar. I would highly recommend strap locks, especially if you have a valuable guitar. Really, any guitar, I would highly recommend strap locks. And that's basically about it. I really should have my strap to show you how the strap locks work, but maybe we'll get to that in the next segment. Okay, so those are all the parts of the guitar, particularly to a Stratocaster. Now, let me make note that you might not have a Stratocaster. You might have like a Gibson-style guitar. Basically, most of the parts are the same with either guitar. The headstock's different. You're going to notice that on a Gibson style guitar, you have 3 machines on the other side of the headstock, and they kind of work in mirror image to each other. They turn a different way on the treble side, on the top 3 string side of the headstock. But you know, everything else is basically the same. Gibsons have just 2 pickups, and they're a different style pickup. You have the pickup selector switch on a Gibson, but it's going to be just it's going to be up here, and it's just going to be a 3-position pickup switch for the 2 different pickups. Most Gibsons, well, not any Gibsons at all, really, except if you have a big speed tailpiece. Gibsons don't normally have vibratos on them. And Gibson guitars have 2 volume controls for each pickup and 2 tone controls for each pickup. Okay, so that's the basic parts of the guitar. Now, what I'd like to get onto in the next segment, just brief comments about posture when you're sitting and playing standing up with a strap. Thanks a lot. Okay, now we're back with our next segment. We're going to talk about playing posture when you play. Let's first talk about when you sit down and play, which is probably what you're going to start to do anyway. You want to sit in a chair where your leg is not slanting down to the floor like that, because you want to be able to support the guitar in your leg like this. And you want to be able to keep the guitar flat against your chest. Okay, now see, I'm sitting on a stool that has a rung, so I'm able to put my leg up and hold the guitar straight up and down. What you want to avoid doing is letting the guitar slide down the leg. You don't want to have the guitar tilted up at you like this, because what that does is it's going to affect your left hand position. You'll see it makes it real uncomfortable to play the guitar. You need to have the guitar straight up. Now, a lot of students complain that they can't see the fretboard when they're starting to put their fingers on the fretboard. But what it does is it affects your hand position. It puts a lot of fatigue on your wrist and hand right here. So you need to keep the guitar straight up against your chest like this. Now, this is how the guitar will hang on your body when you use a strap. So when you start to stand up with the guitar is really in the same position, and the left hand position remains the same, and your sight line on the neck remains the same. Another common lazy habit that I see a lot of my students do, that I constantly am telling them to stop doing, is they'll sit and they'll lean and they'll rest their left arm on their leg like this. Okay. Now again, this is something that you don't want to do, because when you stand up, all of a sudden that crutch of resting on your left leg is gone. Okay. So you want to sit with the idea of standing with the guitar, where you keep the guitar flat against the chest, you have the same sight line to the neck, and you have the good left hand position. And talked briefly about the strap locks in the last segment. I have my strap on. Again, these are highly recommended. I have this style of strap lock. It comes in 2 pieces. You have this whole unit here, which you affix onto the hole in the strap, and then it has a shaft here with release points that you release with a button here, and then you have a strap peg that you have to mount on the guitar. You take the old one off and you mount this on the guitar, and basically what it is you press the button in, you stick the shaft in the hole, and this keeps the strap from coming off the guitar. So when you stand, you're not going to lose the guitar. I've seen many people break necks from this part of the strap coming off, and the guitar goes straight to the floor and ends up in serious damage to your guitar. So even if you have not a real expensive instrument, I would make the investment in strap locks to protect your investment. Okay, so there's the whole thing about posture. You want to be comfortable. You want to be in a comfortable chair. You want to keep your back straight too. You don't want to be slumping over. Okay, so we're going to get on to tuning next. Thanks. Okay, we're back with the basic electric guitar series. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the open strings of the guitar. We're going to learn the names of the strings, and we're going to talk about tuning. Now, tuning is job 1. The first thing you do when you pick the guitar up is tune it. You shouldn't assume the guitar stayed in tune overnight while it sat in your case or sat on a guitar stand. You need to tune the guitar every time you pick the thing up and play it. Even in the midst of a practice session, you want to check your tuning from time to time. As you get familiar with the sound of the guitar, you're going to notice when the guitar goes out of tune. That's the time to tune it. Okay? All right, so it's really a very important thing you need to learn how to do. Now we're going to simplify the whole process with a tuner. Highly recommend you get a tuner. I would say buy a tuner. There's a lot of different price ranges and styles out there. What we have here is a very high quality tuner. It's the Roland Boss TU2 tuner. And it's in a stomp box configuration. In other words, it kind of goes on the floor with your stomp boxes. Make this the first stomp box you buy. That would be a real good idea. This is a great tuner. It's not a real cheap tuner. I think it's like about a $90 tuner. Any decent guitar store, guitar center, any decent guitar shop should carry Boss products. And if they carry the Boss products, they'll have the TU too. Okay, so along with learning how to use the tuner, we're going to learn the names of the open strings. Now, let me explain to you how we designate the strings. The thickest string, which is the one closest to the ceiling, is the bottom 6th string E. Now, you're saying, Mark, it's the one closest to the ceiling. Why are you calling it the bottom string? Okay, I'm going to refer to strings and pitches, strings of the guitar in terms of pitches. Okay, so the low string is going to be the thickest bottom E string. That's your lowest pitch. So that's the bottom 6th string E. And you can see on the tuner it's number 6. Let me switch it over to the chromatic mode, and it'll show E. Okay, now we'll get to the tuner after we talk about the different strings. Okay, now your number 5 string, again, it's the second thickest string. It's the number 5 string. That's your A string. Now you need to memorize these string names, so you just know them off the top of your head. The 4th string is D. Okay. The 3rd string is G. The 2nd string is B. And then our top string, closest to the floor, but it's the top string in terms of pitch, is E. Okay, so in terms of strings, this is going down. This is going up. We go up to the top E string. We go down to the low E string. That's important to remember in discussions of pitches when we talk about different lessons and scales and chords. We're talking about the proximity of the strings. Okay, now make life easy for yourself. Get a tuner. Okay, Korg makes the CA20, I believe it is. It's a chromatic tuner. It's a less expensive tuner. It's not a stomp box configuration. It's like a handheld tuner or something you put on a tabletop. And that tuner is good, especially if you plan on using an acoustic guitar. It has a microphone on it. This particular tuner is strictly for electrics and electric acoustics. In other words, guitars that have an output jack that you can plug into it. Okay, and basically you put it in the signal chain between your cable to your amp. You take a cable out of your guitar and you plug that into the input. Now, notice this has 2 outputs. Okay, it has an output that when I activate the tuner with the pedal, in other words, I stomp down on it, it'll activate the tuner and I can still hear the guitar pitch. Okay, now if I use this output, what it will do is it'll shut the guitar off. Now that's handy if you're playing live, if you're playing a gig and you want to shut your guitar off while you tune, so the audience and the other band members don't have to hear you going while you're tuning your guitar. This output is handy for in situations like this where we want to demonstrate the tuner and you can still hear my guitar. And I find it handy when I'm recording. in a studio, I can just leave the tuner on, and in the course of a session, I always have the tuner on, and there's never really any reason to turn it off. Okay, so let's go over the components of the tuner. Now, this particular tuner has an LED dial here. It has a green LED right in the middle, and then it has LEDs to the right and LEDs to the left. Now, when the pitch is flat, in other words, if it's too low, it goes into the red on the left side. Okay, and it even shows the flat side. Okay, and this yellow light is the only one that lights. Okay, now if I bring it up by turning, again, counterclockwise to bring the pitch up, I'm going to bring it up slowly. I don't have to keep picking over and over again. I can just let the note sustain. And then I want to get it right on the green LED light in the middle, and the two yellow lights light. That shows that your string is in tune. Now, if the pitch is sharp, it'll go to the red LEDs on the right side of the dial. And then this yellow arrow will be the only one lit. So when I'm on the right side, the string is what we call sharp, or the pitch is too high, we need to bring it down. So I'm going to turn my machine clockwise to bring it right on the green. Now, most tuners work in the same fashion. The chord tuner has a meter on it. It has a meter with a needle, but it still has the lights. It still has a green light that shows you you're in tune. Okay, so I'm going to go through the other strings. Now, there again, it's showing E. Now there's my A string. It's a little bit flat. I got one red LED. Bring it up a little bit. 4th string D. It's a little flat. Bring it up. Okay, the G looks like it's right on. And there's the B. Bring it up a little bit. And then the E. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all 6 strings again, because I've changed the overall tension on the neck by bringing all the strings up. So I'm going to have to go through it a second time. The D's a little sharp. We'll bring it down a little bit. There's the G, and the B, and the E. Okay, so there. I'm good to go. We're in tune, and we're ready to get our hands on the guitar for our next lesson. Thanks a lot.